Hi, thanks for visiting with me again today. We're going to take a look at another exercise from Matt Franke's book, Taming the Beast. This is the dynamic focus exercise. And this one, there are several dynamic focus exercises throughout the series of books that Mr. Franke wrote. And this one is Neighboring Diminished Arpeggios. One of the things I really like about these books is they're good for your ears. And they give you patterns as a classical trumpet player that you don't play very much. And if you're a commercial jazz trumpet player, you need to be always thinking within a harmonic context. Actually, I think every musician should be thinking within a harmonic context when they're playing, because it gives you much more information to work with, and it makes you feel more secure when you know where you are in terms of the key relationship. So we're working with diminished arpeggios, as I said, but the key thing about this exercise for me is physical. So I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of these, and you'll get the idea. So as usual, I'm playing with the exercise. I try and play them straight first, and today I'm warming up. I've got to go in and teach in a few minutes into NEC, and so I need to be ready to give a good example to my students. So still in process here, but you see the idea of this exercise? You're playing maximum volume in the upper register, and then playing very, very soft. And you can see I was kind of experimenting with the dynamic range in the soft and kind of taking my time. Now, to me, one of the main things that I run into with this, when I have my students do it, and most of my students do not like this exercise. What is it? Overblowing. Now, what does that mean? We hear that all the time. Well, don't overblow. What does that mean? One way of thinking about it is you're trying to force too much volume of air through the instrument. So you have this little mouthpiece with this, small opening in it, and if you flow air, that opening and the shape of the mouthpiece create resistance. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because otherwise all the air would just fall. But you have to find the balance point. So overblowing is pushing past the balance point and trying to force air. When you do that, your whole body reacts to try and hold the air back to find the balance point. You'll hold it with your lips, you'll hold it with your tongue, with your throat, with the opposing breathing muscles. And this is something you have to feel. I can tell you that doesn't mean anything unless you can feel it. If you can feel it, if you feel like you're driving your car with the gas and the brakes at the same time, then you're experiencing exactly this problem. And experiencing it is okay, but what you want is to feel really good. So a therapy that I use, and I don't have it with me this morning, but I'll just grab my breathing tube, and if you haven't worked with a breathing tube, just check out my videos on it. It's very simple. It's a high-tech piece of equipment that will help your trumpet playing. I put the breathing tube in my mouth, and just get the feeling that everything is let go. Then I go back and play this again. So the whole time I'm trying to stay relaxed, with the air moving freely, and I can feel my body struggling and kind of clenching, and you'll notice this. Don't get confused. Don't be distracted by it. Just see what it is. If you notice these things, they're very annoying. They're not pleasant experiences, but keep your mind focused on what you want it to feel like. So go back to the breathing tube again, and bring that feeling back in. Now, this is a very difficult exercise for a lot of people, and there are many reasons for it, but you've probably heard the old phrase, lead players always play sharp. Why is that? Because lead players, and I did that for a while, uncomfortably because I wasn't really well suited to it, they tend to push harder and harder as they go into the upper register. And the push or the drive in the air is important. It's like when you want to go faster or you want to go up a hill in your car, you step on the gas a little bit, but you don't step on the brake. So the main skill you're trying to feel and trying to incorporate notice it by repetition, and then compare that the correct feeling of release with the competitive feeling, the feeling that's going in the wrong direction, that you're kind of pushing the brakes at the same time. You don't want to be a hero. You want to find out the easiest way to do this. So what are the musical aspects of it? I'm listening to the sound, and I'm listening to the pitch. So the timbre, the quality of the sound, the color of the sound, and the accuracy of the pitch. Am I staying in the center of the note? So this is a combination of musical and physical, like everything we do on the instrument. And it's really good to do these, but if you go through the whole series, choose what you're working on and keep it simple. Just repeating it is not going to help. Playing and noticing something that you know can be better from your own experience, focus on that and work on that one thing. Now, very important factor in this particular exercise, and it's in many of the exercises in the Beast books, is what Reinhardt always recommended, Don Reinhardt of the Pivot System, is rest as much as you play. And especially when you're warming up, that's a really good thing to do. It's not just resting physically, it's stopping and letting your brain calculate, oh, we're doing that trumpet playing thing again. I need to remember how to do that. So the pauses are really important. In this case, he has the little railroad tracks, the caesura, at the end of every complete exercise. Now, I played a couple of the exercises. You get the idea of the pattern. At the end of the exercise, you rest for at least as long as you play. Now, I'm not resting mentally. I'm resting physically. Mentally, I might let go, relax. So I'm starting with no tension. And then what I'm trying to do is, with my body relaxed, perform it in my imagination. This is called visualization. Many of you are familiar with the technique. Most people don't do it. It actually requires a great deal of mental effort, especially when your body is not participating. You're not getting feedback from the physical sensation. So this is a problem. I'm going to play another one because I know you don't want to just hear me talk. And you see they're descending at this point. We've gone from C, B, B flat. I'm going to flip the page and let's see. Yeah, play something that works all the way down until you're playing from the low F sharp. And that's great. And then he starts building up. So this is a fairly long series. Let's see. I'm going to play the one that that ends up on a high C. But going through these in sequence is really, really helpful. Going down, then starting in the low register, going back up. That's the key, because as we change registers, there's the blow and the balance with the horn and our embouchure have to be maintained, and that's one of the hardest things to do on the trumpet. So Rafael Mendez is purported to have said, just play scales when talking about practice. I like that. I would add arpeggios, because arpeggios do the same thing as scales, only you're covering the range more quickly. So it adds a little bit different challenge. So let me go ahead and play this one. So I'm getting an okay musical result, I think. I'll have to listen to the recording to make sure. But I'm fighting a little bit physically. And this is something you need to develop a great sensitivity to. Noticing, I use the word balance a lot, noticing the difference when you're holding on and when you're letting go and relying on balance. Any of you who are skiers, for example, when you're a novice skier, you're in the snowplow, and so you're putting the brakes on all the time, and that gives you a sense of control. And then at some point, you start to put your skis parallel, and then maybe do a stem turn and reach out. So now you have more control. And then pretty soon you're skiing with your skis together, and you're just changing edges. So anybody who has that for a reference, who knows what that feels like, that's a really good way of explaining what's going on here. What are we looking for? A smooth transfer of weight throughout the register, throughout the changing of the notes, so that everything is fluid. Okay, now there are some directions in here. At the end of the first ascending arpeggio, after you've expanded, let that volume expand as much as possible. And I think of it like an opera singer. You never hear an opera singer kind of shredding their vocal cords by pushing the air too hard. Trumpet players do that all the time. And that's exactly what we don't want to do. So this is called dynamic focus. What is focus? Focus is maintaining the vibrational position and quality, the suppleness of the aperture, the opening in the lip. And so if you're overblowing, you're struggling with muscles to try and hold that in place. If you're under supporting, you're squeezing with your lips to try and keep that vibration going without enough freedom in the airflow. In between those two extremes is the balance. If you can feel this, you can practice it. That's why I'm doing these videos. I want you to be able to experience these things for yourself. It's not about information. It's about paying attention, basically, and learning by direct experience. So when you get to the end of the held note, which you've been expanding the volume like an opera singer, then there's a little breath mark. And he says, breathe and reset. So that can mean any number of things. It's like stop, relax, take a breath. Now you have a new embouchure. You have the mouthpiece off your face. And that's a really good way to practice. But it also, in my view, is kind of cheating. I'll explain what I mean. It's easier to do that when you go from the upper register extreme volume to the lower register than it is to go directly without resetting and without taking a breath. So I'm going to play the next one. Take a risk here. Up to the D flat, and then I'm going to make a direct slur down to the low E, soft. Wow, that sounds difficult. I hope I could do it. Well, I got distracted. My finger actually slipped off the valve. That's weird. Let me try it again. So for most players, that's going to be a bridge too far. It's going to be a little bit too difficult. So this is something you can build up to, and that requires that kind of move requires a lot of breath control, and you can learn a lot from it. But I think the way it's recommended in the book is a good place to start, and that's why I start doing that until I start feeling comfortable, and then I typically raise the bar, and we go from there. See what I can do. So I'm pushing the capability, but I'm trying to stay relaxed. Okay, something else I do, and this is not just with this exercise, but I find it particularly valuable in this exercise. These are all ascending arpeggios, and that's great. But you should descend too. So often when we, at Boston Conservatory, there's a scale requirement. And so you have to play 10 scales, 3 different forms of minor and your major scales, obviously, randomly on demand. And that's great because that means you have to know them in your ear and in your fingers, so to speak, in your body. When you do that, you have to play them up and back down and play the arpeggio. So what I do on something like this is like, oh, I wonder if I can play that backwards. And I don't have my music reading glasses on today, which is unfortunate, but I would try descending as well. And I might even start the exercise on the high note and descend as a kind of a foil, a balance to the way that the exercise is designed. So there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. This is a great way to do it. But doing it the opposite way, especially with a tuner, can tell you a whole lot. So even if you just play one of these exercises and work at it in this way, I think you can learn a tremendous amount about what's going on in your playing and hopefully make good adjustments that will help you to be a better trumpet player over time and with dedication and patience. So let's see, I think I'll start maybe on the B flat. So now what I'm doing is I'm working on feel, all the balance things that I talked about already, and I'm working on the remembering, learning the pattern going backwards. So I recommend that you do that on a lot of things. Even in pieces that you're learning, you know, let's say you're playing the Haydn trumpet concerto. Dum 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 da 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 dum da da dee da dum. You see, all you're doing is you're playing up a scale, and of course, Haydn, with his wonderful sense of humor, was demonstrating, oh, now the trumpet can play a scale in the normal register without playing in the Clarino register. Wow, that is cool. That's never happened before, and it is cool. But if you play that scale, it's like, are you balancing as you play the scale? And can you practice it the other way? That will help you to find your balance. Dum, da, dim, da, 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 dum. Look at the passage and read it backwards. Now, I didn't invent this. I discovered it. Nobody told it to me. I just said, that'd be interesting. And just yesterday, I was reading Molly Gebrian's book, Learn Faster, Practice Better, something to that effect. It's a book about more efficient practice. And it references the latest advances in the science of, in brain science, in neuroscience. And in the book it said, do it backwards. No, it said your brain automatically does it backwards when you take a break. And I think, like, is that really true? But a long time ago, I just realized, I'm playing it this way. Why don't I try it the other way? Because I'm always looking for variations. I'll give you a little example of that and let you go practice, because by now I hope you're getting itchy to get on the horn and do something. But I've been a photographer for a long time. And when you're a photographer, if you're an experienced photographer, you don't just look and take a picture. You look, and you look again, and you look again. And as you're looking, you're trying to feel what it is that you're taking a picture of. There are many things that go into it. But one thing that any experienced photographer will notice is if you changed your angle of view by a fraction of a degree, all the relationships within the image that you're seeing change. And it's the same thing when you're practicing. So don't drive yourself crazy with this, but just recognize you don't want to play the same thing in the same way over and over and over again. Because first of all, it's boring. And second, you're not seeing the whole picture three-dimensionally. You need to feed that data into your brain. So get to work, and I'll see you next time you have a few moments to spend with me. And I hope you're enjoying your practice and feeling like you're making progress, because that's why I'm making these videos. Go to it. I'll see you later on. Have a great day. Bye-bye.